So in this video, I'm going to walk through the exact 3-step process that I use to keep all of my personal clients' books 100% organized and 100% in order every single month. Here are the steps. Step 1, look at the bank account. Step 2, copy the important numbers into the bookkeeping template. And step 3 is just check to make sure you didn't mess up steps 1 or 2. Here's what that looks like. So in order to actually go through that 3-step bookkeeping process, we're going to need 2 things. We're going to need our trusty bookkeeping template right here. We're going to need bank statements or our bank app or something like that that shows what transactions are occurring in our business bank account. So what money is coming in and what money is going out. This is an example that I've come up with. I've just printed out the numbers and put in some example stuff. This will help us walk through just sort of an example company to show you how to put things into the template and where things should go and give you a couple tips along the way. Obviously, this is Chase's version. Yours will probably look very, very similar. And if you are just going through your banking app, it'll look like this. And with all that said, let's hop straight into it. So in my example bank statement, if we look in the top right corner right here, we are starting in January. So I will go to the January tab of our bookkeeping template right here. And the nice part is for the majority of the bank statements like this, we'll break it out into different sections. So they'll have a summary that shows how much money you started with at the beginning of the month, what happened during the month, then how much money you have at the end of the month. They also divide it into the money in and the money out transactions, which is very nice. So on Chase's version, it says deposit and additions, which is just the money coming in. So if we take a look at our template right here, our first transaction is an ATM check deposit for $2,000 and the date was January 5th. So in our template, I will put January 5th, 2024. The amount is going to be $2,000. It is a money in transaction. It is a deposit into our bank account. The description, I would recommend being as detailed as possible on these just so you can remember. So I would say client deposit for retaining wall work. Let's pretend it's a construction company. Our transaction type is going to be gross receipts and sales. Any money in transaction that we have is going to be gross receipts and sales. This transaction type, the gross receipts, that just keeps track of all of the money coming in. So we go back to our summary page. At the end of the year when we're doing our taxes, everything automatically carries into these sections right here. So we have a total amount of money that we brought in, which helps us at tax time. So I will go ahead and put in the rest of our deposits right here. And that is the rest of our gross receipts or our deposits from our banking statement put in right here. Now, if we look over to this right side right here, if I move my face a little bit, we have the monthly summary. This keeps track of all of the total transactions that we put in to here. So it isn't counting every single one of these pre-filled options. It only counts the ones that we actually have information in. We have the total money that we brought in, which is just the sum of all of these. We have the total money going out, which because we don't have any expenses yet is 0. So our cash flow is just the total money in. If we go back to our summary page, we have the gross receipts and sales right here from our company that pulls in from January. Now, moving on to the ATM and debit card withdrawals. These will be the transactions that we pay using our debit card, be it online or in person. So this is where the fun stuff begins as well. In this example bank statement, I'm not going for any like particular type of business. So this isn't like a construction company example or a school group example. I kind of just put down random expenses from my private clients, one that I could think of, some random ones if you were owning a school group or an online group or something like that, just to give you guys as much of a wide range of transactions as possible. So we have a nice broad range of seeing different examples for different kinds of transactions. So just like our deposits right here in these first 4 lines, our first withdrawal looks like $99 from school. So on January 8th, 2024, we gave $99. This is an expense, so it will be money out. Our description will be the school monthly membership. And assuming you are hosting a school group, and that's where that $99 is coming from, I would classify that as advertising, just because that is where we are hosting our product or our service, which is our course. School lets lets us advertise it and tell people about it, so I will classify that as advertising. And again, we look in this right here, our total money out increased by the 99. We have another transaction right here. The cash flow calculates automatically, and if we go back to our summary, our advertising expenses have grown by $99. So I'll go ahead and put in the rest of these. And just like that, I have finished putting in the rest of our expenses right here. I'll just kind of quickly walk through these. This right here is our Adobe subscription. Now, quick note on this, I classified this as advertising. If you are more using your Adobe subscription, if you have one to actually deliver results for your clients sort of thing, I would put this more on the side of office expenses along with the rest of your software. But if you are only using Adobe to essentially create advertisements for your business, I would put it in advertising instead. So that's where that comes from. I'll actually leave this at office expenses. This right here was our Home Depot example. Just say we're buying some wall blocks, some plywood, and some concrete mix right here. This will go into supplies because we are just buying supplies to actually do stuff in our business. This right here was our O'Reilly transaction right here. I just said, this is what we bought. We bought an engine oil and a filter. This would go into repairs and maintenance, and that'll be all nice and good there. This right here, this was our Office Max or our Office Depot. I forget which one, the Office Max. We're just saying we bought a printer and that goes into office expenses. This was our Sunbelt rental. We were renting an excavator for 24 hours. So that goes into equipment rent right here. This right here was our Uber transaction. If you are just using Uber to get to like your house from a job site or going to a friend's house or something like that, and it wasn't related to your business at all, do not include that in your books. Do not put that on your taxes. That is not deductible and the IRS will get mad about that. So I'm saying we are using this to get to a business convention. That is a business purpose. So we are allowed to deduct that or write that off. But again, if it was just a personal expense, do not include it. And that goes for everything else. So if you just go to a restaurant and you use your business card instead of your personal card or something like that, that should not go in your bookkeeping template anywhere. That is not deductible. Don't put it on here. The IRS will get mad. Everything that is business related will go into your bookkeeping template. Everything else, all of your personal expenses, stuff like that, do not put it on here. And last but not least, we will have our Google ads right here. Again, that's pretty self-explanatory. That goes into the advertising. Now, a quick note on this, as you guys are putting in your transactions month to month or week to week or stuff like that, I really wouldn't recommend worrying too crazily about which category you're putting stuff into. As long as it somewhat fits, fantastic. The more in-depth and the more detailed you can get on the category, the more useful it'll be for you, just so you can see how much you're spending on each individual thing kind of going forward. So let's say if we head back to our summary right here and we say like, okay, this all looks good. Like, oh wow, we spent $800 on advertising. You can maybe go back to that, see, okay, can we reduce our ad spend? Can we increase our ad spend? You get to see what categories of stuff you are spending the most money on, which can help you sort of see where you're leaking money kind of thing. For all of our descriptions right here, I would recommend being as detailed as possible. So if you look at my examples right here, I'm saying, okay, we had a $99 transaction from school.com. That was our monthly membership right here. We had $106 from Adobe. That was our subscription right here. We bought some wall blocks, some plywood and concrete mix from Home Depot. So that's what I put in the description. We bought this from O'Reilly. We bought this from Office Max. We bought this from our rental place. We bought this for Uber. This was the reason. Really what you want to do with these descriptions is give yourself a general idea of what you were spending the money on. Because if we're just looking at this 2 or 3 or 4 months down the line, and you see a transaction for Office Max, you're probably not going to remember what you bought. So the earlier you can put it in, the more detailed you can be on this description, the better off you'll be. Outside of that, that is our 3-step bookkeeping process right there. We look at our piece of paper right here, we put those numbers into here, and then we double check them to make sure that all of these dates were correct, all of these amounts were correct, it was a money in or money out. We had our correct descriptions with as much detail as possible, and then we properly classified the transaction. We have our nice little monthly summary over here. Looks like we did have some positive cash flow for the month of January, which is very nice. And all of these values are updating over here. So as we go through the rest of the months, by the time we get to December, this summary page will be all nice and filled out with everything we need for tax time. And there you have it. That is the monthly 3-step process that I use with all of my personal clients to make sure their books are 100% in tip-top shape at all times. Now, I did want to point out a couple tips. The first tip is that if you're in a business that spends a lot of money, so think construction contractors, Etsy workers, basically just any business with a lot of transactions that you have to keep track of, I would recommend you guys run through this 3-step process about once a week. That way you can spread out your bookkeeping time across multiple weeks and multiple days, instead of just having to sit down one night and spend 2, 3, 4+ hours putting in hundreds of transactions into the template. The second tip I have for you guys is that the more detail you can put into those descriptions that I showed you, the better. You don't gotta go crazy, but a general good rule of thumb, especially on those transactions where you're giving money to other people and you're buying stuff, it's a good idea to include the name of the person you bought it from or the store that you bought it from. If you bought some equipment, write down the name of the equipment that you bought and any other important details that you can think of. Just helps keep track of everything, and if the IRS ever does pull anything back or you want to look back personally, you're able to look back on those things. The third tip I have for you guys is that if you ever have any questions or problems on the template or bookkeeping, if you ever have a question as to what kind of transaction you had or where you should classify something is, which category it should go into, you are always more than welcome to make a quick post in the school community or reach out to me directly, and I or one of the fellow students will be more than happy to help you out. With all that said, in the next video I'm going to quickly summarize everything we've gone over in this course and give you a glimpse into the next and most important course, which is how we can use all these numbers and everything we've learned so far to get your tax bill down to 0. See you then.